Welcome to the Buyer Persona Masterclass. My name is Kadena Tate, and I'm the CEO at 50 Shades of Paid. My passion is helping women to productize and monetize their expertise. You can find me at kadenatate.com and also 50shadesofpaid.com. Today, what I'd like to talk about is the importance of crafting a buyer persona. And I really feel like this is something that has tremendously supported me when it comes to content creation, sales strategy, marketing strategy, because at the end of the day, if we have no idea who the client is, we really don't have a business. So that's the whole purpose of this conversation, to get really clear about our people and how we can best serve them. The other thing that I kind of want you to think about is that if you're trying to sell everybody, you're kind of wasting a lot of time, attention, money, energy, and your intellectual property. And so this buyer persona is going to help you understand what your buyer needs to know, how they feel, and how they what you can do to help them better understand your product and services before they call you. And that's going to help you not spin into perfectionism, people pleasing, and proving energy. Ask me how I know. I've been there, done that. So entrepreneurship is all about solving problems. And I really, one of the opportunities that I feel like we have is that if we don't take the time to ask questions, we can make a lot of assumptions about people. And so what I want to talk about is, how do we clarify the needs, desires, and pain points of our ideal client? So the first thing I want to do is define what a buyer persona is. This is really a document that you're going to create, kind of like a character in a book or in a TV show or a movie, and it's going to tell you what your prospective customers, how they're behaving on a day-to-day basis as they weigh their options to address a problem that your company resolves. So this means that there must be product market fit. Okay, there must be product market fit. And what I can tell you is that when you, not to be redundant, but when you understand your customer, that's going to help you market your business in such a way that you gain their attention. And so it's imperative that we demonstrate that we understand them, that we empathize with them. And I really feel like this is when you meet people who are more willing to be open and listen to what you have to say. Now, what I've discovered is that there's 5 types of buyers that are going to benefit from your knowledge, wisdom, and solution. And all of them have very different buyer journeys. So it's really important that you don't do this blanket one size fits all. A regular consumer is going to be totally different. Think about yourself. You are a consumer. The way that you shop and make purchasing decisions is very different than the way that you run your business, because it's a different set of decision criteria. So I want you to think about whether you're your ideal client is a consumer of your products, services, and programs, or if it's a business who wants to be in relationship with you, right? So that you might go into that business and be a coach, a consultant, a speaker, a trainer, or perhaps you supply your products, or you license your intellectual property, to a business, a government, a nonprofit. Or, of course, if you're in the educational sector, perhaps you're a person who wants to speak at colleges and universities, elementary, middle school, and high school, to show them various protocols and processes that they can use to expand their paradigm of possibility. So the first thing that I want you to know is it's one persona for each type of buyer. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. And what I want you to do is kind of think about these people, like I said, like it's a character. One of the one of the things that I find really fascinating is people who write TV shows and movies, you'll notice that they create these characters that literally have a full life. So we don't want to just look at, one dimension of these people. We need to create a full backstory for our personas. Okay. The other day, I briefly mentioned a simple buyer journey. And there's basically 3 basic steps. However, they have a lot of little points along the buyer journey continuum. So the first thing that I want you to keep in mind is that in the very beginning, nobody knows who you are. So they're not Googling your name, okay? They are Googling the solution to the problem. So if they're having marital problems, for example, they are going to Google, whatever the problem is. So one of the things that I notice in my own business, it's just, it just is what it is. You don't know what you don't know. Is that I sat up and I wrote over 900 blog posts, not understanding the power of keywords. So when you begin to look at the awareness stage, keep in mind that this person is really grappling with, how do I know if I'm interested in your product, service, or program if I don't even know that you exist? So number 1, you got to be visible. Number 2, our job is to create awareness. So the way that we create awareness is not through a sales pitch. It's through content that's focused on their pain points, not our product. Whoever just came on the line, do me a favor, please, and mute yourself. Thank you so much. So I want you to really get clear about the fact that you're here to solve a problem. So if I'm sitting in my house on an ordinary day and I've been tolerating overgiving and under-earning, feelings of powerlessness, anxiety, whether it's emotional, physical, financial, think of your solution in that way, okay? The other thing that I want you to keep in mind is that during the awareness stage, because they don't know that you exist, they on their own are doing a lot of research. So your buyers are coming to you really educated. So what people do is they're going to use general search terms, okay, on Google, or they might go to YouTube. But one thing for sure is that they're not searching necessarily for the solution to a problem if they're on Pinterest or Instagram. What are they doing? They're searching for pretty pictures and ideas. So people are not necessarily coming online to buy. They're coming online for information. Please mute your line for me. So buyers are usually looking for educational material. They're looking for at your testimonials, customer reviews. That's what they're doing in the awareness stage. So make sure that these types of resources where you're letting them know this is how I can help you, that they're readily available. So sit down and think about, how you're crafting your content so that this person says, aha, this person may be able to assist me. And it's not going to be a sales pitch because it's really too soon to do that, okay? The next thing that I want you to think about here is one of the things I feel just like within myself, like I said, I wrote over 900 blog posts over a 3-year period and did not understand why people were not reading my blog. And then I hired a writing coach because I had a business coach, but I hired a writing coach because I thought, well, I must be a terrible writer if no one's, looking. And the first thing that the writing coach said to me is that I was giving out way too much information. And the way that I was positioning the information, the person felt like, well, I don't need to hire you. Because you have everything on your website for free. So begin to think about, you're not giving away the store, okay? You're giving away just enough information that can help them to make a decision. Now, when you start looking at the consideration, once they've done their research, They're going to narrow down their choices to just a few companies. And then what's going to happen is they're going to come to your website. They might opt in under their real name, okay? But more than likely, they're going to use a fake account. And they're going to be like peepers. I mean, I don't know any other way to say that to you, but that's kind of what people do online. So they're going to do a lot of research. You have no idea who's watching you. And this is why it's important to be consistent in your brand. Now, a lot of women have shiny, bright object syndrome, you know, and everything that comes up, you have like a little voice that's telling you, oh, this is boring, you know, go over here and do this or do that or do the third. What I'm going to tell you is that if you don't take your people on a journey where they understand how they're going to get from where they are into the solution, you're going to lose them. You're going to lose them. So really get clear about, I just taught them this, now what's next? So don't leave your people hanging because you have bright, shiny object syndrome. I had this client one time who taught this class all about how to write your book. And then after she taught the class on how to write your book, she went in this entirely different direction within her brand. And I said, whoa, slow your roll. You got to come back and teach them how to market the book. And she said, I don't want to teach that. How to publish the book and then how to market the book. And she was like, I don't want to teach that. I already know how to do that. I said, they don't know how to do that. I mean, that's unfair to your people. Why teach them how to write the book and then drop them like a hot potato and say, figure the rest of it out on your own? So this is why it's important that you really understand what kind of knocks you out of the running for people to give you their time, their money, and their attention. The other thing that is really important during this consideration stage is that, you know, like I've said many, many times, authenticity has no competition. You've got to be yourself. Because if you are, I'm going to put a little quote and then speaker end quote. If your topics look like everybody else's topics, why should I hire you? Because you don't have a story that resonates with me. So like we talked about yesterday, the power of your brand story. Your story has to be a personal one. It has to be a personal story. You've got to give yourself permission to be unapologetically you. The other thing that I want you to, before I go on to the next stage, is when you're creating content, you've got to talk directly to what the return on their investment is going to be inside of your content. So what you might want to do is create content that has kind of like a before you work with me and then as a result of working with me, and use your client testimonials. If you do not have customer testimonials, don't stress. All you have to do is ask the people who have worked with you in any capacity to write a testimonial. Because sometimes I think we get so caught up with what we don't have that we forget what we do. I worked for British Airways for 20 years. I had all kinds of compliment letters from customers. And so when I became, you know, an entrepreneur, I didn't think that was important, but it was extremely important. So it doesn't matter how someone has worked with you. They know what the experience of the customer experience of being with you is. And then finally, you get to the decision stage. Remember, we're looking at this through the buyer lens, ladies, through the buyer lens, okay? So the person who's doing the research might not be the decision maker, okay? So it might be their spouse, or it might be their child, it might be their employees, it might be themselves, but the thing of it is, they themselves on their side are going to have the support of the decision makers. So when somebody says to you, I got to talk to my husband or my wife first, please know that's nonsense. They already know what they want. They're just not resonating with you. And so it's your job, it's incumbent upon you to have a conversation that shows them the clear benefit of working with you. And this is where you get to be brand specific. This is where if you have case studies and customer testimonials on hand, This is where if you do a webinar and you have your people, who worked with you on the webinar and you have them talk about the experience of working with you, this is where that comes in handy. If you, for example, let's just say that you're a stylist. If you've styled all of your friends, they're clients, they're just unpaid clients. You get them on the screen and you say, hey, before you met me, let's keep it real here. You were looking a little toe up, and so get them to tell their testimonials. And you will be shocked when people see the before and after, the miracles that it'll work in your business. The bottom line is that if you can help them see more value from your offer, they're far more likely to remain your customer when the renewal time comes, or when you invite them, right, to invest in an upsell, a cross-sell, or a downsell offer. Okay? I cannot emphasize this enough. I mean, this is something that I just cannot emphasize this enough. You have got to get to know your ideal client. You have to know that person literally as well as you know yourself. And if you kind of think of that person like the way you would think of a lover, you'll take the time. You will take the time to understand their emotions, so that you can then sell directly to their emotions, not the features of your product, because people are making investments in their emotions. That's literally, what are they purchasing? Their core desired feelings. Okay. So it's important that you take the time, not just demographic information, just saying it's a white woman, a black woman, a woman with blonde hair, a woman with brunette hair. That's not going to get you anywhere, right? It might be a woman whose hair is thinning and balding and she's 20 years of age and she earns $150,000. I'm sorry, she earns $10,000 a year and doesn't have the money, say, for a hair transplant. And maybe she's from a culture where, that's considered vain and she feels guilt, shame, and embarrassment around it. Or perhaps her secret passion is to have, long flowing hair, because that's going to make her feel sexy. And she wants to live this lifestyle where she's, on yachts, or she's surfing, or she's doing whatever. The bottom line is you have to take the time to get to know this person. Now, one of the things that I want to tell you is that with your buyer persona, this is where right here at this stage, you get to sit down with character development. And what I want you to know is that, I think there's this quote by Mother Teresa or something that says something about, in order to help people, you have to love the people. So what I want to say is that it's not necessarily about, we're not talking about romantic love. It's about leaving your prejudices, your biases, and your judgment out of the situation. Because here's the thing, if you are filled with prejudice, bias, and judgment, that's going to reveal your level of empathy and compassion for the person. So if you just want people's money, but you don't give a damn about them, they can tell. And they will run through the streets, especially if they're women, and talk about you. So how do you feel about the people that you want to work with? Because your approach is going to dictate your intention. So you're dealing with people. These people have come from a specific place and they're trying to go to a specific place and they want to go with you. So what are you trying to accomplish with this person? And then also think about your role in somebody's life is going to impact every other area of their life. So for example, if you're a speaker, if you get on a stage and you empower someone and they are now more confident, their whole world changes because they're more confident. If you style someone and they're more confident, if they're single, they're going to attract their lover. If they're married, right, their marriage is only going to get better. They're going to earn more money because they're more confident. So begin to think about, how does your brand impact this person in every quadrant of their life? And then ask yourself, where are we going together? Why are we going? And what do we expect at our destination? Never, ever, ever approach people from a place of moral judgment. Because what I will tell you, and this is just my personal philosophy, I am a student with every client that comes to me. It's not the other way around. It seems like that, but I am the student because I'm learning more about myself through each client. And you're going to do the same if you take the time, and you're going to make more money. Because if you're judging people, why would anybody want to give you their money if you are filled with judgment and contempt for the person? Like I said before, people are buying feelings, okay? I believe that you're here to grow, to evolve, and to achieve mastery in the things that matter most to you. And those things include who you're being, who you are, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. And that's your solution. And when it comes to action, I really feel like, you have to ask yourself, are you personally willing to be uncomfortable, to squirm, to sit in that seat of discomfort so that you can exchange certainty and complacency for a daring adventure? Because your people are going to take you some places that you never thought that you would go. I mean, I've had amazing clients in my life, amazing clients, people who inspired me that I could overcome all sorts of things. I've had people inspire me to paint, to draw, to dance, to sing, to learn how to play the piano, to take salsa lessons, pole dancing lessons. You will meet some amazing people if you're open to the experience. So you really have to sit down and trust that whether you like it or not, okay, emotions are going to drive the decisions that both you make and your clients make. So you have to ask yourself, am I willing to craft an inspired action plan that's going to pull me out of bed in the morning and make me excited to, to start my day, and then in the process, spread my, goodwill all over the world, so to speak. Now, when I think about empathy, I think it's important that I clarify what I mean, because, sometimes I feel like what men have done to keep women feeling insecure is they use big words and they complicate stuff that's not even complicated. Okay. It's just not complicated. And they write whole books on subjects. I'm an economics major, so if that helps you to understand, you write whole books on subjects and everybody's confused. And then when you start living it, you're like, oh, that's what this is. Okay. So it's kind of like that with the buyer persona. Okay. So what I want you to think about is when it comes to sight, what's their environment? What's their environment? Now, this might sound like, well, that's a kind of a stupid question. What's in their environment? Who are the key people in their environment? What kind of offers have they been exposed to? What problems do they face? So I'm going to give you a couple of ideas here. Remember I said earlier, you do not want to focus on demographic data alone. Demographic data looks like male or female, introvert, extrovert, single, engaged, married, widowed, divorced, in a complicated relationship. It also looks like, are you employed, right? Are you self-employed? Are you retired? Are you an active senior? Do you own a retail store, a franchise, an online store? What's your sexual preference? What's your income level? Do you require assistance, right, for disabilities that are medical, mental, or psychological in nature? And so on. So that's one part of the site. But the other part of sight is your social habits, right? So what do they see? If they're volunteering, where are they volunteering and what do they see? Remember, I told you I volunteer with battered and abused children. So when I see a 2-year-old baby with a broken nose and broken arms, that reaffirms my commitment to my volunteer duties. Okay? Are they in a book club? Are they the leader of the book club or simply a participant? Why does this matter? Well, if you write a book, do you write the kind of book that they're reading? What magazines are these people looking at and reading when they're feeling stressed? So if they love magazines, then it pays for you possibly to either write an article in that magazine or create your own magazine. The same with publications, the same with movies. The same with the blogs that they're looking at. Are they creative in nature? Are they looking at situations where they can draw, paint, dance, sing, scrapbook, make jewelry, sew, garden, etc.? Get really, really clear about what your people are looking at. Same with sound. What are their friends and family telling them? Are they telling them stuff like, you'll never amount to anything, you're too much, you're too, you're too big, you're too loud, you're too wild, you're too this, you're too that? Or are they being affirmed? What are they hearing in their professional environment? Are they hearing stuff like, you better come, you better come to work here, there's nothing more for you? Like, I remember when I was going to college, this guy that I worked with said to me, I don't understand why you're going to college. That doesn't make a bit of sense. Nobody's going to pay you more than $25 an hour. And I remember looking at him like he was out of his mind. I'm like, you think that $25 an hour is the end all be all to the joy and the height of life? Like, I feel sorry for you. But people will speak words into your life that if you don't have some confidence, honey, they'll take you out. What's influencing them? How are they influenced? And through what means? That's what we're talking about, sound, right? Also, when you look at sound, you want to look at what are the voices in their head as it relates to money. Are they a Starbucks drinker? Like, what are they hearing? Are they hearing that, you know what, I deserve to be surrounded by luxury and beauty? What are the frivolous expenses that they're making each month? And what do they hear about it? Oh, you have champagne taste and a beer budget. Do they have at least $10,000 in their checking or savings account? Are they listening to people say, good for you, like, you need to keep your money, don't spend it, save it, there's a recession coming? What are these people hearing as it relates to thinking and feeling? What really matters to them? And what do they not say that matters to them? What moves them? What are their dreams and aspirations? What are their concerns? Let me tell you, sometimes we don't realize that the thoughts that we have are projected outwards as an energy field around us. And then what ends up happening is it's reinforced, right? So for example, I gave the illustration of, do people say to you, for example, you have champagne taste on a beer budget? A lot of times when you say that, people think you're talking about having a whole bunch of money. But if you are in your family and you earn $50,000 a year and no one else in your entire family has ever earned more than that, the minute that you double, triple, quadruple your income, you're like, a giant in the land. So you will find that what will happen is people will start avoiding money. They won't handle it. They'll leave all their financial decisions to a lover, friends, and family. They'll find ways to self-sabotage. So you've got to know that the clearer you are about how people, are moving viscerally through their bodies, that's going to help you sell them the things that they need so that they can live a fuller, richer, and more rewarding life. Also, empathy is also in the area of what you say and do. How do people behave in public versus how they behave privately? I'm sure most people of color will tell you that they have two voices. They have the side of themselves that they show when they're around white people, and then they have the side of themselves that they show when they're around people who look like them. Why do they do this? They do this to be safe in the world. That's why they do it, right? It's not about putting on a face, a false face. It's simply a survival mechanism. But if you don't understand that, then you'll find yourself in a position like this guy did a couple of months ago. He was talking in a restaurant to a friend, and he said, I'm about to blow up the bathroom. And unfortunately, a white person overheard him and called the police. And he said, that's not what that statement means, right? That's not what it means. And so, of course, if you're Black, you know that automatically. It just means that it's going to be an ugly bowel movement. That's all that it is. But when we are looking at people who don't understand our language, then there's so many differences between what they say and what we think that we can't relate to them. So you have to ask yourself, once again, how do they behave publicly versus privately? What do they say that matters to them? It's not your job to change their mind. It's your job to expand their paradigm of possibility so that they change their own minds. What's the difference between what they say and what they think? Do they influence anyone? Because here's the thing, if you have a bully type of personality, a lot of people will remain quiet and they just basically go along to get along. Because it's just too exhausting to do battle with you. And then when you begin to think about frustrations, what concerns and frustrates them? What agitates them? What obstacles are they encountering when it comes time to reach their goals? Do they feel depletion? Do they feel angry? Do they feel confused? Are they being told by other people, don't worry your pretty little head about it? What risk do they have to assume? Are they single moms? Are they young people? Are they older people whose spouses have died? Or are they over 50 and they just got a divorce after being married 20, 30 years? What are they frustrated with? Because people are willing to make investments in solutions, but it's your job, right, to clarify that you understand their frustration. And then finally, we look at motivation, right? What do they really want? What do they really want? What are their true desires? What I can tell you is that a lot of people don't want to say what they really want because they don't know if you're going to be filled with judgment. If somebody says to you, I want to buy a $250,000 car, and you're driving an electric car that's $25,000, $30,000, you're probably going to judge them. So they don't want to admit that. They don't want to say that they want a private plane. They won't tell you that they want to have multiple lovers, that they want an open marriage or a polyamorous relationship. They're not going to tell you. So their motivations for not telling you certain things block them, if you will, from achieving their goals because they can't tell you the truth. How do they measure success? Not how you measure it. How do they measure it? This was a big one for me. People would come to me, they would tell me they wanted to make $50,000. I was like, girl, you can't live at your mama's house for $50,000. You got to pay Uncle Sam, right? You have business expenses. You got to pay this, that, and the third. Like, you need to change that goal to a minimum of $250, $300. And people would run in the other direction, screaming and yelling, hopping, skipping, jumping away from me because I had them on my measure of business success. So you got to be in alignment with your people. What do they want? If they're not a good fit, this is how you say, hey, you're not a good fit for me. Let me refer you to somebody. And then how do they try to achieve their goals? Are they trying to get rich quick and they're trying to do slick shit? Because that's not going to work. One of the things that I love is when people take the time to build forms that kind of clean everything up, to help you really clarify what's going on with your people. So Tony Zambito, Tony, Z as in zebra, A-M, B like boy, I-T-O, designed this buyer persona canvas. And I love it because one of the things there's three things that I love about this buyer persona canvas in particular that I want to bring to light. It addresses the buyer anxiety, expectations, and your brand promise all in one document. So I'm going to give you some statements to kind of think about. You can go to the link, go to his website, or just Google buyer persona canvas. It will pop right up. And so when you think about a buyer anxiety, okay, we're getting to the solutions part here. You have to know my clients are looking for a better way to do blank. You must identify the need because of blank. Why? What's behind the buy? So for example, my clients are looking for a better way to communicate in their relationship. Why? Because they're tired of arguing about every little thing. Second thing, my buyer feels blank. What's the negative emotion about blank and what's their perceived problem? So for example, my client feels angry about the fact that when she's speaking to her lover, he ignores her or he doesn't give eye contact. Third thing, you want to identify the disempowering belief system or challenge. My client believes blank. Do they believe they're too young, too old, too fat, too thin? Do they believe that they don't know enough to start? Like, what is going on with them? Hold your questions till the end. I'll come back to them. The next thing I want you to know is what's keeping them up at night with worry. You can say, my client is worried about bankruptcy, foreclosure, heart attack, stroke, the possibility of divorce. What are they worried about? What's keeping them up? Do they have a child who's, addicted to alcohol, drugs, sex, etc.? And then you want to think about the worst case scenario. My client is imagining what? They're imagining themselves alone, broke, homeless. What's the crippling hidden belief? They secretly feel unlovable, unworthy, undeserving. My client secretly feels blank. I'm going to email these out, so don't worry about it if you don't get everything. And then you want to identify the true desire. My client secretly desires blank. They desire fame, wealth, more pleasure. You have to know the seat of buyer anxiety. Because this, my darlings, is why they buy. That's the truth of why they're purchasing. But they're never going to say that. So this is the power of being a woman. Because if you ask the right questions, you will pull it right out of them and they will tell you the truth. And then they'll say to you, oh my God, I can't believe I just told you that. Another thing that they will not tell you is what they expect. They will not tell you what they expect. They'll kind of sort of act like whatever you do is okay with them. But the truth is they'll have hidden expectations. So the first thing you have to decide is what's their minimum expectation? My client expects to be treated with respect. They expect me to answer my phone or respond via email in 24 to 48 hours. What do they expect from you at a minimum? At a minimum. Second thing, most people want change yesterday. Once they sit down and they say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of this, right? They want change yesterday. We're in the microwave generation. We have to tell the truth. And you'll meet a lot of advertisers and marketers out here who make it seem like they have magic wands and they can, wave them over people's lives and they'll lose 100 pounds in their sleep, in 3 days and all kind of little stuff. You'll find the lover of your dreams, right? Today on a TV show and you'll be married happily ever after. I mean, people have all sorts of wild expectations. But here's the thing, where is that expectation coming from? It's because they don't want to experience what? So my client does not want to experience what? What's the negative customer feedback? Do me a favor and mute your line, please. Whoever has a gentleman who's talking to them. or the TV on. So you want to look at what's the negative customer feedback. They don't want people saying, you invested in her? Oh my God, she's a crook. They don't want people saying, oh, that's so stupid. I can't believe you fell for that. What's the negative customer feedback? Under their expectations, what are the negative emotions? What are they going to feel if you do not do what you promised? Are they going to feel shame, guilt, embarrassment? Are they going to feel like they got the trump card and they just threw it in somebody's face? Are they going to feel like a superhero? But at the truth, I mean, what's the negative emotion? Also, what's the emotion and the action that's going to make them feel like literally tears of gratitude? What can you do that's going to wow them? My client would be wowed if I blank. And it could be something as simple as a handwritten note. It could be something simple as you pick up the phone and call them without trying to pitch them and you say, hey, how you doing? It could be you come to their city and you say, you know, my clients who are all in this city, I want to take you to dinner. It could be that you take them to a baseball game and you pay for the admission. It could be you take them to the movies, you pay for admission and popcorn. It could be you buy them a box of Girl Scout cookies. It could be when their child is sick, you send a card or some flowers, or when their parent dies. It doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to be thoughtful. And what are the things that they're hearing about you from their family, friends, and colleagues? Because they don't want to make an investment in you and then somebody say, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. So this is where your testimonials come in. And then finally, your brand promise. What I want you to do is I want you to write down 3 positive emotions and outcomes of working with you. Your product or service will help your clients feel what? Your product or service will help your clients feel what? What are the 3 positive emotions? And then take the extra step of writing down what that emotion means. Because you might put down that my clients will feel joy. Your idea of joy and their idea of joy might be 2 totally different things. Also, identify 3 features and benefits that they need to know. You have to write it down, the features and the benefits, the technical and the ethereal. So let's use a physical product as an illustration. A car is easy. I never knew the very first SUV that I purchased, I did not know that there were studies until I took a marketing class that when a person buys an SUV, they become more aggressive and they feel that they are more powerful than people in small cars. I did not know this. So what I thought was really interesting was when I got my first SUV, I felt powerful driving around. When I had a sports car, I felt sexy. Who knew? That's not on the car brochure or the SUV brochure. So did I know I was going to feel that way? Absolutely not. I did not until I got in the car. So when they say 28 miles to the gallon or whatever it is, you know, reclining seats, heated seats, all that, yeah, that's important. But man, there's nothing like feeling powerful, confident, sexy, joyful. I was happy every time I drove around. Why? Because the car before that, I had a Ford Mustang 5.0 that broke down all the time. And that made me feel poor and overwhelmed and stressed out. At first I felt cute, right, with my little convertible. But then when it started breaking down all the time, it wasn't a good feeling. So what do you want your clients to see? Both the features and the benefits. Third thing, what is your product or service going to help your clients do? So I want you to identify the new skill set that they can have with ease. So once again, if you're a speaker and you're speaking on the subject of confidence, don't just stand on the stage and talk about confidence. Do exercises where they can role play so they can feel confident. Maybe you're teaching them how to sell, or maybe you're teaching them how, to speed date, or maybe you're teaching them how to communicate with, coworkers or angry clients. But do role-based training so that they feel confident. If you're teaching somebody how to do something on the computer, do a video so that they can see it. Okay? What I want you to do is I also want you to sit down and think about, in order to best help your client, how are you going to package the solution? A client asked me the other day, she said that what she wanted to do was create this online course. Her whole entire business is offline. So I said to her, is this the profit center that's going to honor the client? And she was like, well, not really, but I can't be running around with these people all the time. And I said, let me tell you something. Whatever way that people present themselves to you, that's the way they prefer to learn. If you met all these people online, they prefer to be online. But if you met these people at a live event, they like going to live events. So you've got to get honest, okay, about your commitment to these people. Because if I'm looking at you face to face, I don't want to go on my computer unless I absolutely have to. So yes, you could do a combination, right? You could do, for example, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks online, and then it can culminate in a live event. You could do that. But what I want you to know is that if you're meeting people face to face in that type of environment, they want some face-to-face interaction. Because everybody is not running, hopping, skipping, leaping, and jumping to their computers every damn day. Some people actually want to build relationships, eye to eye, heart to heart, soul to soul. So when you look at this buyer persona canvas, you're going to see a whole bunch of questions that he is asking that are really going to help you. And when you see this box, for example, that says initiatives, and he says, what are the archetypal initiatives? Go to myss.com, Carolyn Miss, or just type in archetypes. And she is the queen of archetypes, and she'll have them all on her website. And you can kind of put your personas into certain archetypes. Is this person a queen? Is this person a nurturer? Is this person sporty? Are they an adventure enthusiast, etc.? The more information that you have, the more prosperous you will become. Resources. Go to buyerpersona.com/resources. You're going to see some really cool resources. The one that I really want you to download is the example buyer persona. Because I use this, it is a fabulous tool. It is a fabulous tool. Finally, obviously a persona is not a real person. It's just a representation of who you want to work with. But what I can tell you is that if you really take the time to do some of the things that I've suggested today, you're going to be able to create social media posts, blog posts, articles, videos, audios, speech topics that resonate with your people. Because here's what I want you to know. If you're all over the place in your conversation, if your brand story is not congruent, if what you're saying isn't consistent, the likelihood of them becoming a client is pretty much non-existent. I just want to tell the truth about that. Because confused people don't buy. They don't. So with that being said, we don't have very much time today for Q&A. So if you have questions, do me a favor and email them to me at kadena@askkadena.com. And I'm happy to create a Q&A video and send that out to you with everyone's questions. And with that being said, we're going to jump off the phone a few minutes early today. I want to say thank you so much for spending this time with me. I sincerely appreciate you, and I wish you joy on your journey. Have a beautiful day, ladies.